me just share my slides. So, I mean, you've nailed it really, Katie. I mean, you've done a great job hosting, but also we've had some amazing presentations. Can you see how a lot of these presentations overlap and the internet? They're saying the same thing, really. Now's such a great time to be out there looking for deals. You can do commercial properties, you can do HMOs, you can do SA. And I'm going to kind of pull some of this together with my final presentation. I'm going to just find the right one. Give me 1 second. And really share with you what I think the opportunity is, and actually share with you what I think is probably the most important skill that you need to learn and develop to become a successful investor. Okay, so just share my slides. And I'm going to try and do it a bit shorter because I'm trying to catch a bit of time because I went over time last time. So apologies for that. And fingers crossed, my internet is going to work. If not, I will just turn. So if we disappear, don't go away. I'll turn my camera off and come back in. I've had terrible internet connection problems today. So can you see that, Katie?
Yes, all perfect.
Yeah, wonderful, excellent. Okay, so hello, Simon Zutshi here again. And as in case you don't know, I'm the founder of the Property Investor Network. We set up 22 years ago. By that time, I'd been investing 8 years. I realised that property was a very lonely journey, and I wanted to connect with other investors. And I set that up, and people asked me how come I didn't have to work. Start explaining and teaching people, and I really love doing that. So I still actively invest. I'm doing a lot more investing this year than I probably have the last few years because it's such a great opportunity. This skill I'm going to talk about is critical to be successful in 2026, which is why I thought it was a good topic to talk about in this particular presentation. So yeah, founder of, I won't go through this again, founder of PIN, set up Mastermind in 2007. I do hope you're going to apply for the scholarship. I'd be crazy not to, really. Someone's got to win it, and there are 50 runner-up prizes. If you missed that talk earlier, make sure you get the recordings that Katie mentioned because you don't want to miss that. I wrote Property Magic, which is probably the best read property book in the UK, well over 100,000 copies in circulation. And I'm the founder of Crowd Property that's funded £450 million of property development in the UK. So if you're doing the kind of projects that Richie was talking about, commercial conversions, or you're doing the HMO conversions that Stuart was talking about, Crowd Property can help fund all of those for you. Okay, so and let me ask you a question. I love your feedback here. So what do you think is the most important skill that you need to develop in order to be a successful property investor? Do please come and type that into the chat box. By the way, I do love everyone's participation in the chat box. Thank you so much, everyone, for typing things in. So we've got things like, and it's interesting, mindset, that's so important. Perseverance, I agree with that. Network, I agree with that. Collaboration, selling skills, open mindset, perseverance. A lot of people are saying mindset, and I think mindset is critically important to your success. I don't think that's really a skill, more kind of a, is it a skill? It's kind of a trait, really, a trait you can develop and work on. Negotiations, persistence, further education, reliance, resilience, self-belief, grit, I like that one, grit, yeah. Raising finance, yeah, that's important as well. These are all important, these are all great things. But actually, there's something more important than all of those. I don't think many people have put it in yet. Would you like to know what the number one skill is? The number one skill is your ability to find great property deals. Now, some people say, oh yeah, but the money's most of it, because if you don't have the money, if you can't raise finance, then you can't fund your deals. But I would argue, and I want to see if you agree with this, if you find really good property deals, and by good or great, I mean profitable property deals, if you can find profitable property deals, then it's much easier to find other people to fund those deals. Okay, so you want to start looking for investors, and going to physical live events is a great way to connect to network people, especially paid events. You get better caliber of person there. But and everyone runs out of their own money at some point, right? But if you don't have good deals in the first place, there's no point having money if you don't have good deals. And when I say it's good, it's got to be profitable, so that there's plenty of profit for you to share, either as a joint venture or maybe just as a loan. Rich was talking about borrowing money from people. They're going to want to see you've got a good project with plenty of profit, so know how you're affording to pay a good rate of interest to them. So you need to be able to find good deals. If you agree with that, just put agree into the chat box. It all starts, your success as an investor is all downstream of your ability to find great deals. As my good friend Guillaume says, we had Rhett from Property Filter. Guillaume's the founder of Property Filter. And actually, you probably heard earlier when Brett was talking about Property Filter. They came on my 3-day mastermind accelerator. It's a 3-day residential program, and they took the learnings from that to create Property Filter. And Property Filter now send all of their team. When someone joins the business, they want to teach them about property, they send them onto our 3-day accelerator. And our 3-day accelerator really is about finding great deals and also then raising the money as well. But there's no point raising money if you don't have great deals. So this is the number one skill I believe you need to develop. And the good news is it's something that is very learnable. It's not something you're naturally born being able to do. You could absolutely learn how to find great deals. So the next question is, okay, well, that makes sense, Simon, and lots of people are saying they agree. What exactly are we looking for? What are we looking for? Because there are so many properties out there. And by the way, I would say, Stuart, by the way, I hope you're listening to these speakers are dropping so many golden nuggets for you. Stuart said, don't be put off by the price. If you're going to apply the big secret I'm going to teach you in just a moment, the asking price doesn't almost matter. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. Okay. But my point here is the majority of properties for sale on the market, you should not be trying to buy them. They are not good deals. So let me tell you what we are looking for. And by the way, this took me 11 years to learn this secret. I call it a secret, and actually, if you go to PIN meetings, you read my book, Property Magic, it's maybe not a secret now, and I'm sure what I'm about to tell you, you've heard of before, but not everybody goes to network meetings. Not everyone educates themselves to come on webinars like this. And so you might think everybody knows this, but I guarantee you the vast majority of investors don't know this. And it took me 11 years to learn this secret. By then, I'd replaced my income. I'd started PIN in 2003. And I only really learned this, I think, at the very early 2006. I learned this secret. And it kind of struck me. I thought, oh my God, why didn't I know that? Why didn't I do that for the first 11 years? Okay, so especially if you're new to property, you're getting a massive head start on where I was, because I'm telling you one thing that's going to make you far more successful and help you do a lot more deals. And this is the secret. The secret is you need to find motivated sellers. Motivated. Surely all sellers are motivated, aren't they? They all want to get rid of their property. Well, yes, they do, but most of them are not as motivated as we would like. And maybe only 5% of sellers are really motivated. So what do I mean by motivated seller? This is someone, they've got a problem. They've got a property-related problem, and they see selling this property as a solution to that problem. Maybe it's they want to get rid of the property. Maybe they need the money for something else, or whatever it might be. They've got a problem. They want to get rid of this property. That problem they want to solve quickly. Now, this might sound obvious, but I guarantee you most people don't know this. The most important thing for a motivated seller is speed and certainty. Imagine you're trying to sell a property and you need to sell it for whatever reason, and you found someone who wants to buy it, they make an offer, it's accepted, it's all moving forward, and then suddenly that sale falls through. Now you might think, well, how often does that happen? The Office of National Statistics believe that 33% of property transactions fall through before they get to completion. So an offer's made, accepted, and 1 in 3 of those fall through. So imagine you're looking to sell, you've finally got someone to buy it, it's all moving through, and then the sale falls over. You're going to be absolutely gutted. And I tell you, I don't like selling. I've sold a few in the past, and it's a nightmare selling property. It really is a nightmare selling property. And if you can give these people speed and certainty that they need, that you're not going to let them down, for a motivated seller, they might be flexible on the price and or the terms. So what do I mean by that? Well, they might be prepared to sell at a big discount. And as I mentioned in my talk earlier, if you can buy at enough of a discount, we can actually use something called same-day remortgaging, where we can buy the property, sometimes using other people's money, and then the very same day we can remortgage it and get all the money back. Let me say that again. We can buy it and we can remortgage it all the way. Now, we used to do a lot of this in the mid-2000s with a company called Mortgage Express, and it all stopped in 2008. And we've not really been able to do it for 18 years, but now it is back. If you buy at enough of a discount, you can literally buy with none of your money, but you've got to be buying at a big discount, okay? And it's not a property where it's maybe not a distressed property. You know, Stuart showed us a picture of that distressed property need lots of work. This is where actually you don't need to do a lot of work to the property. It might be the seller is distressed rather than the property. So they might have a lovely property, they just need to get rid of it quickly. So they might be prepared to sell at a discount, which is great, or they might be flexible on the terms. You see, just because someone's motivated, they want to get rid of the property, doesn't mean they would necessarily take a big discount. Okay, so they might want to sell this price, and actually we can use creative strategies such as lease options or vendor finance, which are where we're going to pay them later basically, but we get to control and use the property now. And for some people, not everyone, but some people, this could be a great solution. So the more motivated they are, the more flexible they will be on the price and all the terms of the sale. Okay. And in fact, the next speaker you've got, Lee Blake, is one of our mastermind students, good friend of mine. He has another way of finding these deals. We've already heard about Property Filter today, great way of finding them, but also Lee's got a different way of getting these sellers to come to you, and he'll share that in his talk later on. And the one thing I just need to say was very important, and I think unfortunately in the property industry where you can make good money, you always get some rogues. You'll always get some charlatans. And there are some people who are a bit unethical or very unethical, and they make offers to people who are in a situation, and they drop the price on the day of exchange, hoping the person's going to have to do the sale and agree to it, which I think is unethical. You don't need to do that. You can do that if you want. I don't think you should, because you want to sleep well at night knowing that you're being fair and reasonable. Yes, we want to buy at a discount. We're not a charity. We want to make money here, but we don't want to mess people around and do those kind of things. And actually, sometimes it backfires because you spent money on legals and surveys. They change their mind to sod you and go and sell to someone else. And also, some of my best deals have come from word of mouth, because I've helped people who they were motivated. They thought they needed to sell. And my rationale, by the way, is we want to put the seller first. We want to put the seller first to understand what is their problem, so we can work out if we can potentially solve that problem and help them out. And something we can't help, the numbers don't work, or they don't open up enough for us to be able to find the information to help them. And actually, if someone doesn't need to sell, if there's another possible solution rather than selling, I would much rather just help them out, give them some advice, put some good karma out there, and know that's going to come back to me many, many times over in the future. And actually, by being ethical and helping people out, you'll get to the point, once you've done enough deals in your area, the word will spread and people know you're the person to come to if someone really needs to sell a property quickly, and you won't mess people around. So just be aware that not everyone is ethical, and sometimes you might get a little bit of negativity if you say you're doing this because people don't think it's fair. And the way I like to see it is, okay, we want to get a good deal, but we're just giving someone an alternative. If we say we're going to buy it for a certain price, that's the price we're going to buy it for. They can do it if they want, or they don't have to do it. And hopefully we found something that's going to be a good solution for them as well as a good solution for us. And by the way, motivated sellers are everywhere. You might think, well, I live in a nice area, I don't think they're going to be motivated sellers here. Believe me when I tell you, there are motivated sellers absolutely everywhere. It's not just people with no money. You can have a very successful business. In fact, I know a good friend of mine in Birmingham bought a property from someone who was a household name. If I said the name of this seller, you would know who they were. He had a property worth 150,000. It was a flat, unencumbered, so no mortgage. He had a business opportunity that was going to make him a lot of money. He just needed £100,000 quickly. So he sold this property to a friend of mine for 100,000, even though it was worth 150, because my friend could buy it in a week. So this guy property is not a very liquid asset. He needed money quickly. He was prepared to take a £50,000 hit, 33% hit on a property in Birmingham because he needed £100,000 literally next week. My friend did the deal, got a great deal. The seller was very, very happy because he put it into a project, and I think he made hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds on this new business. So don't just think it's people who don't know what they're doing, who are poor, who it could be very successful business people who just need the money or whatever. Or it could be people moving for health reasons or all sorts of things. But there, you need to understand, you need to believe sellers are everywhere. Motivated sellers are everywhere. If you think there are no sellers in my area, guess what? If you believe that, you're right. You won't find any because that's your belief. We seek evidence to back up our beliefs. Whereas if you believe, yeah, I'm sure there are people who need to sell quickly, maybe only 5% of them. It's about finding those people. And we already had, as I said earlier, a great talk from Rhett from Property Filter, and I do hope you took up that trial. In fact, Pippa, can we share that link? People who weren't on the call earlier, if you can share the link for the Property Filter trial again. Guys, go and it's an absolute no-brainer, and maybe get onto the challenge that they are doing next week as well, because that's a great opportunity to really understand how to actually find these. And you'll see just how easy it is to find these motivator sellers. Now, having said that, finding the seller is one part of it. Okay, and that's important. You need to find the motivated ones. And by the way, most sellers are not motivated. And I wouldn't even bother trying to buy a property that's not motivated. You're wasting your time. Just find and help the motivated sellers. But once you've found them, you need to know how to convert that lead into a profitable deal. That's about knowing what to say to them, how to negotiate with them. I'm going to do a little bit of an advert. We're not selling this. You can't buy this today. But I'm taking a little bit of an advert. We do have a live training coming up at the end of this month. It's called Deal Sourcing Live. It's for people who want to find great deals for themselves or for them and JV partners, or who might want to sell them on to other people. Okay, so everything you need to know about that: finding the deals, what do you say to the sellers, how do you work out the numbers to work out if it's a good deal or not. Then if you should keep the very best deals yourself, and if it's not something you want, how you can pass it on to someone else and get paid for that. Okay, so it's a virtual 2-day training. You get a workbook, online workbook. It's £1,497. That includes VAT. There's 100% money back guarantee, and the link's there. Maybe take a picture or a screenshot of that particular slide. You can go and check that out. Say, we're not selling that today. I'm just making you aware. Or if you want to know how to convert the leads you're finding through things like Property Filter, this is what you can do. Okay, so little advert for you there. Now, how can we use this in 2026? Because that's what this is all about. This day is about getting you ready for 2026, having to understand what's happening in the market and what are the opportunities. I believe this year is the perfect storm. It's always a good time to buy property, no matter what's happening in the market, if you know what you're doing. But right now, there's this huge opportunity. But be aware, this is not going to last forever. We've got this buyer's market. Now, what that means is there are more people looking to sell than there are looking to buy. So it's in the favor of the buyers. If the sellers had people queuing up to buy their properties, we wouldn't be able to get discounts. We wouldn't have negotiation or flexibility. They'd get the price they want. But because there aren't lots of buyers, and frankly, most investors are sitting back waiting, there are many sellers who are becoming more and more motivated with time. Probably most sellers, when they start to sell, they're not that motivated. But as time goes on, as they're failing to get the results they want, i.e. the sale, they become more and more motivated. Okay? And that means, as I said, they might be flexible on the price or the terms of the sale. Now, many of these sellers, not all of them being motivated yet, but many sellers are going to be retiring landlords. Stuart said it earlier. We're seeing more and more landlords than ever before selling up. Now, most landlords have single let properties. Okay, they might be accidental, got 1 or 2 properties, a single let. What with renters' rights bill and Section 24, it's not worth their time anymore. They don't want to be a professional landlord. They're just getting out. We can maybe take those single let, depending on the location, depending on the size. We could use them as serviced accommodation. We heard about in a presentation this morning. What a great way to get straight. If it's a big enough property, maybe we can convert them into HMOs. So that's one thing we can do with single let properties. But also I want you to recognise this, and Stuart said this, there are some landlords who've already got HMOs. They've already got service accommodation. They just don't want it anymore. Maybe they haven't been doing a great job. And with the specialist knowledge of how to do those strategies properly, and HMOs and SA, they are both a bit more advanced. You can absolutely do it as your first deal, as long as you've got some training and support around you. I think Stuart mentioned most people do single let first because they're easiest, and yes, they are, absolutely. But I would say, why would you start with a single let? If you wanted to move on to HMOs or SA, why start with a single let and tie up money there unnecessarily, whereas instead you can get some support and education and go straight to the profitable deal? If that makes sense, you agree that, just put the word profit in the chat box. And yeah, I don't want to mess around with a single let that's not going to make me money. I want to go straight to the profitable deals. But you do need to know what you're doing, because you can make expensive mistakes. So please educate yourself with us or with someone else. Just find someone who knows what they're doing, who've done what you want to achieve. They've got a great track record. Educate yourself so you know how to do these strategies properly, okay? But we can pick up existing properties already being set up for SA, already set up for HA. What that means is you don't need to spend tens of thousands of pounds doing refurbs, which might be required on single lets. No, in fact, sometimes a couple of £1,000 light cosmetic refurb is actually all you need to do, okay? So that's really good news for you. And by the way, you don't even necessarily need to buy those properties, because you're dealing with landlords. Maybe they might do lease options with you and things like that, where you're not actually buying it now, so you don't need a deposit, you don't need cash flow. You don't need a deposit, you don't need mortgages, you definitely want cash flow. So my voice is starting to go a little bit from all the talking today. So there's this huge opportunity to repurpose those single let properties or pick up existing properties already set up. And here's the thing, you just don't have much competition now. You don't have much competition because everyone's busy doing their own stuff, or even if they're interested in property, they're waiting to see what happens with interest rates and the renters' rights bill, etc. So you must recognize that now, literally the next, I'd say 3 to 6 months should be the time you should be making hay, getting as many deals as you possibly can. If you agree with that and you see the opportunity, having listened to all the speakers, just put now into the chat box. This is not one of those things, guys, where you want to think, oh, this is all great, yeah, I'm going to start doing this in the summer, or at the end of this year I'm going to start doing this. No. Now is the opportunity. Of course you could do stuff at the end of the year. Of course you can do it next year, and there'll still be deals available. But the point is, there'll be a lot more people coming back into the market also wanting to do it. So literally, you are here. The stars have aligned for you to be here now in time for this trading. If ever there was a time to invest in property, it is right now. Okay, so I think the biggest, putting everything together that we've heard from the speakers this year, we got one more speaker after me as well. You definitely want to listen to Lee. Got a great business. The biggest opportunity, I believe, is in 2026 is with retiring landlords, just because there are so many landlords retiring and not that many people buying properties right now. So let me give you some quick hints and tips how to find landlords. Okay, now, obviously, property filter, some of the deals you find will be landlords. What Lee's going to talk about next, he's got a great way of finding sellers. Some of those are going to be landlords, but there are very specific things you can do deliberately to target landlords. So obviously you can go for estate agents, and they will have properties online. And I'm sure if you regularly look at what's coming on with agents, I'm sure you will agree there seem to be more and more rental properties coming on the market to sell. Now, here's a little secret you may not know. It's actually very difficult for estate agents to sell big portfolios because there's so many properties, there's a lot of work involved. You don't get many people who want to buy the whole thing. They have to break them up to individual things. That's not good for the seller. So you might think an agent would be really happy with big portfolio. They're not very happy with them. It's hard for them to sell. But they do have some landlords selling properties, so you should definitely be doing that. And when you speak to estate agents, a question you should ask, which maybe you're not asking already, or maybe you are, is, do you have any ex-rental properties you're selling? Have you got any landlord properties you're selling? So ask that specific question. And let me tell you why you want to be asking agents that question. Because they're landlords, they're selling a property. They're probably selling because they don't want the property anymore, but they probably don't need the money. They're probably just going to stick the money in the bank. They just don't want the property. So they might be open to vendor finance, where they help fund the purchase options, etc. If they've got an empty property, they might have a mortgage that's costing them money. They might be open to doing a rent to rent or a lease option where you're renting, then buying. So landlords are some of the most flexible people to work with. They might have done creative deals before. They've heard about some of these strategies. You should absolutely be speaking to agents and specifically asking that question, do you have any ex-rental properties? Okay. Can I ask you a quick question? If that is a new question for you to ask agents, put the word agent into the chat box if you've not been asking agents that before. If you haven't, you definitely should. So look, what we're saying, agent, write that down. Do you have any landlords selling your ex-rental properties? Okay. Probably something you haven't asked before, but I think you should definitely think about. Next, and by the way, sometimes those properties are empty. Sometimes they will come with tenants in. Now, if you are taking on a property with tenants, a couple of things you need to do. You need to check that all the tenants have a proper contract, first of all. That's number one. You also need to check and get proof that the landlords did all the things they need to do, like giving the prescribed information you're supposed to give when tenants move in, also protecting them. So you need to make sure the landlord has done what they need to do. Okay. And then also you need to make sure that all the tenants are up to date with their rent. Sometimes landlords want to sell properties because they've got a problem. They want to get rid, they want to dump it with the tenants. So a new person will take on that problem. And that's okay, as long as we know what the problem is, we can deal with it. But you just need to know what you're going into. So make sure you understand about the rental situation. Or you might well get it with vacant possession, where they've kicked out all the letting agent, all the tenants anyway. Another way you can find, this is an interesting one, go to letting agents. Letting agents where the properties are not for sale, they're just renting them out, and ask the same question. Do you have any landlords that are looking to sell? Because a letting agent makes money by renting properties out, and if they don't rent it out, they don't make money. If the landlord sells a property, they might sell to someone who's not an investor, who might not need a letting agent, and so they lose out. But if you could say, look, I'll give you a fee, maybe leave the property with you for a period of time, you could get some great deals and have no competition. Because if a landlord wants to sell their property, who do you think the first person is they're going to speak? If someone's managing for them, who's the first person? It's the letting agent. And most letting agents don't sell property. There are some that are attached to estate agents, they sell and let, but most independent letting agents, they just do rentals. And if a landlord wants to sell, they don't know what to do. Okay, so local letting agents, you should reach out to them and ask them. Also, tell everybody tell everyone you know what you are doing and what you're looking for. And most people are really shy. They don't like going on social media. They don't like telling people what they're doing, etc., etc. So I would really encourage you to get on social media, tell people what you're doing, the fact you're buying properties and people need to sell, you're looking for landlords who can retire, and your friends, your network, they will know landlords who are wanting to get out. So again, you might pick up some properties that are not on the market yet that wouldn't be picked up by Property Filter, and you can be the first person to get to those. Okay. You should be networking. You should go to your local PIN meeting. You should go to other property networking. You should go to the NRLA when they have local meetings occasionally. Local council, not monthly, but they might have a meeting every 6 months or so for their HMO landlords. By the way, they're dead boring meetings and they're full of landlords moaning and groaning how terrible it is being a landlord. Brilliant. They're the people we want to speak to and maybe buy some of their properties. So an action for you is go and check out, do a Google search, find your local network meeting, book into local PIN meetings. You never know who might be there. People come to PIN meetings because they've got properties they want to sell and they recognise they might meet some people there who want to buy. Okay, so great way to meet landlords. Connect with local deal sources. The more deal sources you know in the area in which you're looking to buy, the better. Because most deal sources, unfortunately, there are some good ones. There are some great ones out there. But I can tell you from my 22 years experience, most deal sources are not very good, and they might have limited knowledge. They maybe haven't invested in themselves, maybe like you have, and so you might actually know more than the deal sourcer. So they might find something that, if they find a really good deal that they think is a good deal, they're going to want to sell that for £3,000 to £5,000, which is typical fees for deal sourcers. But if they don't know what to do with it, if they can't see the potential, or they don't have the knowledge that you have, you could take what we call a junk lead, something that they don't really have any value for because they don't know what to do with it. And you might pay them £500 if and only if you turn it into a great deal. So picking up leads from other deal sourcers who have less knowledge than you is a really, really good way to find these landlords. I like sending letters to the registered HMO landlords. The councils have lists of all the registered HMOs. We send letters not to the actual HMO, but ideally to the landlord themselves. Now, the councils don't always give you that information, but once we know where the property is, we can go on land registry, we can go on a company's house, find the owners, get their addresses, and then send them letters. And again, there's a bit of work, a bit of effort to do that, which is great because it puts most people off. These are things that you can do that other people wouldn't be prepared to do. So if you found those useful, I'd love you to just type in, and they're not numbered, but imagine they were, number 1 is estate agents, 2 estate agents, 3 tell everyone to know what you do, 4 is networking, 5 is deal source, and 6 is landlords. Which of those, if you had to pick just one, if you could, I think you should do all of them really, but if you had to pick just one, just type in a chat box and maybe type in a number. Which of those would you do? Which ones resonate with you? Yeah, I'd like to do that. I'm already doing it. I could do more of that. Which would you like to do? And why not, as an action from today, put it in your diary. I'm just going to check my time. Put it in your diary and do what you need to do to go and find those landlords. Go and find those landlords, speak to them, find out their situation, ask some great questions, listen, build a rapport, build the trust, and you never know what that could turn into. It's one of the easy is the wrong word. Easy just enough. There's definitely time and effort. It's one of the most straightforward ways you can do to find great deals. Okay. Now, as I said, once you found a deal, you kind of need to know what to do with it. You might want to think about that training we've got at the end of January, the £1,500 training about how to turn a lead into a deal, all the things you need to know, how to run the numbers, how to do your research, what to say to sellers, how to structure it, how to package the deal if you want to sell to other people as well. Okay. By the way, you should keep the very best deals that you find for yourself. You could do it yourself, or you could join venture with other people. And the ones you don't want, you can sell to other people. And here's the thing. You might find a landlord that's got 10 properties. And, you might not want all of them. And you can cherry pick the best ones. And the other ones you can sell to other people. Now, it's got to be a good deal to be able to sell them, and obviously what you think is a good deal might be different from what someone else, but as long as it's a good deal, you should be able to sell it to other people. Now, so you might be sitting there saying, well, that sounds great, but I don't like the idea of having to sell. Guess what? You can find people you can partner with who've got all the investors that they need, who are looking for great deals, and you supply the deal and then you split the fee. So you can actually find the deals, keep the best ones you don't want, sell to other people without ever having to sell. If you're happy about not having to sell, just put the word sell into the chat. But you think that's pretty cool, not having to sell. I like the idea of making money selling. Now, obviously, you're going to split the fee. The company we work with, they generally charge about, I think, £5,000 a deal, but they'll do all the selling and they'll give you half of that money, which is pretty good, I think. This really is the best time for you to secure profitable deals. Okay, it would be a really big mistake, especially because you've been here and you've heard all these speakers, to sit back and wait, because I believe you're going to miss this window of opportunity. I think towards the end of this year, I think the market's going to pick up. I think people will be used to the interest rates, the stamp duty, the Section 24, the renters' rights bill. I think people will come back, they'll see the huge opportunity and they'll jump back into the market. And yes, there will be deals then still, but it's harder to do deals when the market's going up. You want to get in and do the very best deals right now. So if you like the idea of getting paid for deals that you don't want, again, like everyone else, we've got some further, we only have a small amount of time today. We want to get as many speakers in and as much value to give you a variety of different speakers speakers and ideas and content. I'm doing a follow-up training. Maybe if we can share the link in the chat box, please, Pippa. This is all about a bit about how to find deals. I'll show you a bit of that, but more about what do you do with the deals and how can you actually get paid for leads and deals that you don't want. I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that. I think it's this Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. It's at 8 p.m. in the evening. It's completely free training. Come and register. You can either get your camera out and again, do a screenshot of the QR code and go through to the page. You can type this address, the HTTPS, into your web browser and go and find, or you can just click on the link in the description. If you're watching the recording of this, obviously you might want to just take a screenshot or picture and either type that address into your browser or use your camera. Katie, I'm going to come to you in a minute. I'm going to have a little bit of time for questions, so you might want to look up and the questions that have come in, because there are some coming in, and see what you think are the most relevant ones that would help the most people. We may not get to all of them, but I'll answer as many as I can in the next 5 or 6 minutes or so. And I would just encourage you guys, this is such a great time to be investing. You've got to make the most of it, and especially if you're new, it might be a bit scary, and that's why getting some knowledge and training is important. And if you've been in property for a while and you've not been getting the results, now it's time to refocus, plug those knowledge gaps and really take action. And maybe you've been in property a long time and you're a bit relaxed, you're a bit comfy because you've got property, even great income. I would suggest now's the time to get your mojo back, get out there and see what you can make of the existing property market. So with that in mind, I've got 6 minutes for questions, Katie. Tell me what you want to know.
Amazing. So we have got one from Ashley. He's asked if you can get a HMO mortgage even if it's your first investment, or do you need more experience first, i.e.
Great question. If you speak to some mortgage brokers who don't know what they're talking about, they'll tell you, oh, you've got to have HMOs to get HMOs. Well, how can you do that? So there are some lenders who definitely want you to have landlord experience in order to get an HMO license, an HMO mortgage. There are some lenders who you can be completely new to the property market and have no properties, no experience, and you can get a mortgage on smaller HMOs up to about 6 beds. If you want to do larger HMOs, 7 or more, then you probably would need some commercial experience. But as Stuart was saying, really, you probably want to do a 5 or 6 bed as your first one. So absolutely, if you're completely new, if you're using the right mortgage brokers, you can get a mortgage for an HMO.
Amazing. The next one we've got from Stephanie. Where's it gone? What are the top tips to find motivated sellers who might be open to rent-to-rent serviced accommodation and purchase lease options?
Okay, so I would suggest get Property Filter, because that is finding people. So if you want to do a rent-to-rent or a lease option, what that means is you're not buying it now. You're not buying it now. You're going to buy it rent to rent, you're doing it. So a lease option is much better than rent to rent, by the way, similar but better. So you're looking for somebody who doesn't need the money now. So let me give you one tip straight away. Have you ever seen, and I want you to listen carefully and tell me, say I have if you've seen this. Have you ever seen the same property that's got a for sale sign and also a to let sign outside as well? Put I have if you've ever seen that. For sale and also to let. Yep. So what they're saying is, think about it. The owner's saying, look, I want to sell it, but if I can't sell it, I'm happy to let it in the meantime. That's exactly what we're doing with the lease option. We're going to rent it for a period of time, then we're going to buy it if we want to buy it. So that's just one tip. And by the way, there's a filter in Property Filter that can help you look for those kind of properties. Then what you can do, and by the way, sometimes people say, I'm looking for HMOs, I'm looking for SA. I think the best strategy you can use is look for motivated sellers. Look for the sellers, first of all, find the people who are truly flexible on price or terms, and then you can look at the property and say, right, how can I use this property? This would work as SA, this would work as HMO, whatever. And either you can do that yourself as your strategy, or if it doesn't work for you, if it's a great deal, you should pass it on to someone else and get paid a fee for that. So I think the best thing to do, as I said right at the beginning, find motivated sellers, ask them great questions, help them, and then what you can do is work out what you actually want to do with a property.
Amazing. Thank you, Simon. One from Chris. He's watched some videos on your PLOs. Do you do any more in-depth videos or webinars that have examples or how to structure the deals?
Yeah, so I have. I've got lots of on my YouTube channel. I talk about all the strategies. I give away lots of stuff there. We occasionally do webinars with more details. We have a whole home study course about lease options. And if you win the scholarship, you'll get that as well as everything included. So you should definitely apply for the scholarship. But yeah, we have further training. If you speak to my team, we've got whole training courses, and all our home studies come with 14-day money back guarantee. So you can go to it. If it's not right for you, just let us know and get your money back. Simple as that. So yeah, we have a lots more further training on all the strategies, Chris. Speak to my team in the PIN office.
Amazing. Last question. Joanna is very new in property, and she's wondering if deal sourcing is a good place to start to earn some money.
Yes, Joanna, as long as you learn what to do, deal sourcing can be a great place to start, because you're out there looking for deals, etc. But there's one mistake people make when they become a deal sourcer. Here's a mistake that they make. If you want me to tell you guys before I go in literally a minute, just put tell me into chat book if you want to hear the biggest mistake that I see good deal sourcers make. I mean, there are lots of bad deal sources because they don't bother to educate themselves. And if you want to be a deal source, you get on that training I'm doing get on the webinar I'm doing on Wednesday night, and then get on the training at the end of January, because it will teach you everything you know if you want to find deals yourself or be a deal sourcer. But here's the biggest mistake that I see good deal sourcers make, and that is this. They start finding some really, really good deals, and they're selling them, making money. But guess what? You've got to keep doing that to keep making money. Whereas what you should do, you should be keeping the very best deals for yourself. And that's a mistake I see people make. They get into the habit of selling everything. You should keep them. And how do you fund it? If maybe you haven't got the money, that's why you're deal sourcing, to build up the fees to act as deposits. If you've got a really good deal, there will be people you can meet at network meetings and at property training events, once you've built a rapport and trust with them, who, when you've got a good deal, instead of selling it, maybe we should partner with someone else who can put the money in. You do the work, you find a deal, then you share the profit, and you'll make a lot more money from that than just selling it on. So by all means, you can absolutely start as a deal sourcer, but make sure you're not selling everything. You should absolutely keep the best deals for yourself. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. Thanks for being here today. Got another great presentation in a moment from Lee, but a couple of things from me. I would say, first of all, make sure you apply for the scholarship. You never know, you could win that or one of the 50 runner-up prizes. Secondly, come and join me for that further training on Wednesday, all about deals. So the link is in the chat box. I do hope you've enjoyed this, and if you've missed some of these, I think probably at the end you'll get another opportunity to get the recordings of this. I highly recommend you pick up the recordings. I'm sure Katie will share a link at the very end of the day about this, because I'm sure you'd agree, there have been some incredible speakers giving huge amount of value to, all completely free of charge. It's our give back to you today. And thanks for being on our list, and thanks for being one of our members and coming to our PIN meetings. That's why we do this. We do this about 3 times a year. We sometimes have similar speakers. We always get some new ones, and they're always kind of, even if someone's been before, they're sharing the latest view on the market. So it's really good to plug into these events. So get the recordings if you've not made all of them. And then anything that resonates with you, somebody think, I really like HMOs, I really like SA, or I want to find out more about SaaS pensions, follow up. We've had a limited amount of time today, so if someone does a follow-up training, they've got more time to go into more depth, and if you want to do more of them, there'll be opportunity to do more with them if that's what you want to do. So thank you so much for being here. I want to thank Katie, I want to thank the team in the background who are doing such a great job as well, sharing all the links and things, and thank you for being here for your time. And I'm going to listen to a little bit of Lee's talk. Lee's a good friend of mine, and what he does is absolutely amazing. So hopefully that'll be an interesting opportunity for you as well. So thank you so much, guys. As ever, I'm Coach of Investment Knowledge, Investment Skills. See you very soon. All the best.
Thank you so much, Simon. That was very, very informative, very knowledgeable. If there's anyone that you want to learn from in the property world, it is this guy, Simon. Remember that this access